Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math.
I'm Sean Gannon, and this is Minute Math. And today we're going to learn about multi-step equations, and we're going to solve each equation. So, if I was given this equation, negative 20 equals a negative 4x minus 6x. Okay. My first step is to combine my like terms here, my negative 4x and negative 6x. And in doing so, negative 4x and minus a negative 6x, right? That's like that plus a negative. So we have a negative 10x going on here. So we have negative 20 equals a negative 10x, right? Negative 4x minus 6x is negative 10x. And then from there, I see that there's multiplication here. I'm going to bring that 10 over, leave x by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 10. Leave me, well, the 10's canceling here, just the x. And I have negative 20 divided by negative 10, which comes out to be a positive 2. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. I'm going to rearrange this to have x come first. So I have x equals 2 as my final answer. 6 equals 1 minus 2n plus 5. Well, first I'm going to combine my like terms on each side of the equal sign. 6 is by itself, don't really care about that. But now I have a positive 1, right, and a positive 5. We're adding them together, right? The add, subtraction, subtracting 2, and can't do anything with that, but add a 5. So these two come together to be a 6. Now, if you need to do the commutative property and rearrange them, you can, but hopefully we're getting better. We can see that 1 plus 5 is that 6, and then minus the 2n. So now I'm going to bring the 6 over to the left. I'm going to subtract that positive 6 to both sides. These 6's cancel, and it turns out these 6's will cancel as well. 6 minus 6 is 0. So we have 0 equals a negative 2n, right? So that minus 2n really just turns into a negative 2n now. So now I have to divide by a negative 2 to both sides. Leave me with just the n on the right, and 0 divided by negative 2, which is just 0. So I can write this nice and neat. N first, n equals 0, and that is my final answer. 8x minus 2 equals negative 9 plus 7x. Okay? I want to combine my like terms, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my x's to the left and my numbers to the right. And the reason why I'm doing it that way is I know if I subtract a 7x, I still keep x positive, and I try to keep my x as positive as possible. It's not a cold, hard, like, set thing in stone, but I find it easier. So I'm going to subtract a 7x to both sides. Now, if you can do both at the same time, I'm going to do 2 steps at the same time here. It's up to you to write it out, but if you need to pause the video and stuff, you can. But I'm also then going to add this 2 to both sides to where the negative 9 is. Okay? So 8x minus 7x is just 1x. These 7x's, right, cancel out. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, it cancels out here, and then negative 9 plus 2 is a negative 7. And actually, in one big step here, I got my final answer of x equals negative 7. Equals negative 5a plus 5. Okay? Well, I want to combine my like terms. So, to make everything positive, because I like that, I'm going to add a 5a to this side, and then I'm going to subtract the 5 to this side. Okay? So I'm going to add a 5a to its like terms, right? That's an a, plus 5a to both sides, because that's the opposite of that subtraction. I'm then going to subtract this 5 also to both sides, in this one big step here. Okay? The 5a's, and the negative 5a and 5a, they cancel. And then this 5 and negative 5 will cancel. A plus 5a is 6a. And then here, well, that cancels. 5 minus 5 is actually 0. Right? We have to write a 0 there. Be careful. Don't just write 1. That's wrong. You have to write a 0. But now I have 6a equals 0. Well, now I have to divide by 6, which is opposite multiplications going on there. And so now I have, well, 6's cancel, and we're left with a here equals 0 divided by 6, which is 0. That's it. Here's my final answer. A equals 0. 0 is a totally fine answer. here, 4m minus 4 equals 4m. Okay? Well, I want to combine my like terms. So I'm going to bring all my m's to the left and all my numbers to the right. So first step, let's go add a 4 to this side here. I'm going to add a 4 here. Boom. There's no number, so we can always imagine like there's a imaginary 0 there, right? Adding 0 doesn't change anything. It's up to you. And then I'll subtract a 4m to both sides. Okay, negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Fantastic. 4m minus 4m, that's 0 as well. But I have to write that down because there's nothing else there. So these ended up all canceling. 4m minus 4m cancels. Now we have 0 plus 4, which is 4. Well, 0 equals 4. Is that a true statement? No, not at all. It's not a true statement. Okay? It's not a true statement. So what happens when you're solving these and you come down to a statement that's not true? A number, they say a number equals another number and they're not really equal, right? 0 is not equal to 4. Last time I checked. That would be, when that happens, our answer is no solution. And what that means is that there is no number that you can plug in for the letter m that allows you, to make this equation true. So this problem here, the answer is no solution. Of p minus 1 equals 5p plus 3p minus 8. Well, my first step here is I'm going to combine my like terms on each side of the equal sign. So there's nothing left here that we can combine, p minus 1. But 5p plus 3p can be an 8p minus 8. So bring out that minus 8. So now I'm going to bring all my terms together. Well, in this case here, because I like to keep everything positive, it's up to you. I'm actually going to subtract the p to both sides because this p is less than this p, and then I'm going to add an 8 to both sides. That cancels out these p's here, and the 8's over here. 8p minus 1p is 7p. Remember, that's a 1p. And negative 1 plus 8 is a 7, a positive 7. So now we have 7 equals 7p. Well, if I divide by 7, I can cancel out that 7, leaving me with just 1 equals the letter p. And I can rewrite nice and neat. P equals 1 first, right now. The letter first equals the number. And that's our final answer. Pretty simple. 5p minus 14 equals 8p plus 4. Well, I want to combine my like terms, so I want to keep everything positive if possible. I'm going to subtract the 5p to both sides, knowing that 8p was larger. And then I'm going to subtract a 4 to both sides over here. Okay? To bring the 4 to the other. So I'm going to bring all my p's to one side, all my numbers to the other. 5p's cancel, these 4's will cancel. Fantastic. 8p minus 5p is 3p. And negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18, right? So now I need to divide by 3 to both sides, opposite multiplication. Well, 18 divided by 3 is a 6, but don't forget that it's negative, right? A negative divided by a positive is negative. And so that leaves me now with negative 6 equals p. We can rewrite this to have p out front, and p equals a negative 6. That looks cleaner, and that looks nicer. Minus 4 equals negative 9 plus p. So p minus 4 equals negative 9 minus p. All right, so I'm going to put my like terms together. So I'm going to, well, let's go subtract the p's over here, and then I'm going to add a 4. So I'm going to subtract a p here, minus p here, and then I'm going to add a 4 to both sides of the numbers. So I'm going to bring the letters to one side, the numbers to the other. Well, the 4's cancel, fantastic, and then these p's will cancel, great. So on the right, I'm left with, well, negative 9 plus 4 is a negative 5. And I have p minus a p, which is 0. So again, I have 0 equals a negative 5. Well, that's not true, right? 0 is not equal to negative 5. That's not a true statement. Maybe I made a mistake. Possible. I make plenty of mistakes, don't we all? But this one actually is right so far, right? 0 does not equal negative 5. When we come to that, right, when we double check, yeah, I didn't make any mistakes, that makes sense. This is actually no solution. So our answer here is no solution. Okay? And what that really tells us is that there's no number that we can plug in for the letter P that makes this a true statement. Since it's not a true statement, that means there's no solution that works that makes it that true statement. No letter, no number we can plug in for a letter. Okay? Negative 8 equals a negative, parentheses, x plus 4. Right? Yeah, plus 4. Well, normally I would want to distribute that negative inside the parentheses and go from there. But I'm going to actually skip that step, right? I'm going to kind of work backwards. That negative outside, that's a negative 1. So if I divide both sides by negative 1, I can eliminate that negative. Okay? Negative 8 divided by negative 1 is a positive 8. So now we just have, well, no need for the parentheses here. 8 equals x plus 4. Now, I just have to subtract a 4 to both sides, get x by itself. And we have 4 equals x. Let's rewrite it x first, so x equals 4. And that is just my final answer. 12 equals a negative 4 times negative 6x minus 3. So 12 equals negative 4 times negative 6x minus 3. Well, first step here, that negative 4 on the outside, I'm going to divide that to both sides, right? We're multiplying, so I'm going to divide a negative 4 here, right? Multiply with that parenthesis. Divide negative 4, let's get rid of it. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3, okay? And now I have negative 6x minus 3. Well, and then I'm going to add a 3 to both sides to get rid of that. All right, the whole point is trying to get x by itself here. 3's cancel, and these 3's actually cancel. So we have 0 equals a negative 6x. Well, opposite multiplication with division. Divide by negative 6, that's my next step. By doing so, 0 divided by negative 6 is 0. We're left with just an x here on the right. So I can rewrite it to make it nice and neat. And then 0x equals 0, and that's my final answer. 14 equals negative, parentheses, p minus 8. So 14 equals negative, parentheses, p minus 8. Well, I want to get rid of that minus sign on the outside, that negative, right? It's really a negative 1 times p minus 8. So I'm going to divide by negative 1, really, to both sides. What that does is get rid of that negative outside. So those kind of cancel here. And so we're left with just a p minus 8 on the right. And 14 divided by negative 1 is just a negative 14. So now it comes pretty simple, right? I just have to add an 8 to both sides. By doing so, just by adding an 8 to both sides, I'm left with, well, the 8's cancel here, a p, and negative 14 plus 8 is a negative 6. Right? So it's a negative 6. So the negative 6 equals p. I can, rearrange it, the p come first, so p equals a negative 6, and that is my final answer. Negative, parentheses, 7 minus 4x equals a 9. Well, what I'm going to do here is first, that negative on the outside, I like to get rid of it. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. What it allows me to do now is just have a 7 minus 4x left here equals that negative 9. Now, you can distribute that negative inside. That's totally fine, but this problem I didn't. I divided by negative 1. So now, okay, I want to bring the 7 over to the right. So I have negative 7 here. So I'm subtracting both sides. So I have negative 4x. What's left equals negative 9 minus 7 is a negative 16. Okay? Negative 16. They're a more negative number. So a negative 4x equals negative 16. Also multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 4. And remember, the negative 4's will cancel. And that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So negative 16 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 4. And that is my final answer. Negative 18 minus 6k, that's a variable, equals 6 times 1 plus 3k. Well, my first step here, I'm actually going to distribute that 6 to both parts in that parenthesis. So the left-hand side, I can't simplify that left, rearrange, or combine like terms on the left side. So I'm going to leave negative 18 here, if I can write negative 18. Minus 6x, and I'm going to distribute the 6 inside. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 6 times 3k is 18k. Okay? So now I'm going to combine my like terms. In doing so, I'm going to add a 6k to both sides here. and I'm going to subtract a 6 to both sides there. These 6's will cancel. These 6k's are canceled. That's the whole point, right? We pick those numbers to move to add to both sides, or subtract to both sides because it will eliminate that variable, that number on each side. 18k plus 6k is 24k. And negative 18 minus negative 6 is a negative 24. Pretty simple now, right? We just divide by 24 to both sides. Negative 24 divided by positive 24 is just a negative 1, equals, all these cancel, just leaving me with just a k. And so to rewrite it all nice and neat, it's just k equals negative 1. I'm going to write that first, write the variable first. 5n plus 34 equals negative 2 times 1 minus 7n. So I have 5n plus 34 equals negative 2 times 1 minus 7n. Well, my first step here is I'm going to distribute that negative 2 across. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And be careful, that minus sign here is like that minus 7n. So negative 2 minus times a negative 7n is a positive 14n. Okay? Be careful. Negative 2, the negative makes it positive. 2 times 7 is 14. So we have 14n here. And then I have 5n plus 34 right here, just bringing that down. So now I can combine my like terms. I'm going to bring my n's to the right and my numbers to the left because I like to keep everything positive. I subtract 5n to both sides. It's just my preference. I'm going to add a 2 to both sides here. N's cancel there. These 2's will cancel. We're left with 34 plus 2, which is 36, equals 14n minus 5n, which is just 9n. Okay? Well, now we have 36 equals 9n. We divide by 9 to both sides, leaving me, well, it was 36 divided by 9, it was 4. 9's cancel here, right? They divide them, leaving just n. So we have n, our 4 equals n. Let's rewrite that to make it look nice and neat. N equals 4 coming first, and that is my final answer. 2 times 4x minus 3 minus 8, getting tricky here, equals 4 plus 2x. Well, first things first, I'm not the realist, but I'm going to distribute this 2 across. So the 2, I'm going to write 2 times 4x, which is 8x. 2 times 3, so 2 times 3 is 6. Make sure it's a minus sign. Then we have a minus 8 on the outside, equals 4 plus 2x. Well, when I combine my like terms, I have really that minus 6 is that plus and negative. So we have a negative 6 minus 8 is a negative 14. So I have 8x minus 14 here equals 4 plus 2x. Well, let's bring my like terms one side to the other, one to the other. So I'm going to bring the x's to the left now. 2x over here, subtract the 2x, right? I'm going to add a 14 to both sides. 8x minus 2x is just a 6x equals, well, the 14's cancel, the 2x's cancel. 4 plus 14 is 18, okay? So now I have 6x equals 18. Well, opposite multiplication is division. Divide by 6 to both sides, leaving me with just x equals 18 divided by 6, which is 3, and that is my final answer. 3n minus 5 equals negative 8 times 6 plus 5n. Okay? Well, what I want to do first, okay? First things first is I want to distribute, right? Well, I'm first going to write the 3n here. So I'm going to write 3n minus 5 equals. But I need to distribute that 8 across here, right? That 8 across. And so negative 8 times 6 is a negative 48, right? Plus negative 8 times 5n is a negative 40n, okay? And so by distributing that across, I now have, I kind of got rid of that 8, right? Again, the parentheses. And so now I have all, well, on my left side, there's no like terms. On the right side, no like terms. So I now have to combine my like terms. So I'm going to bring the 40n over to the left, so plus 40n. And I'm going to add a 5 to the right. Cancel out these 5s, cancel out the 40n's here. So I have 3n plus 40n is 43n equals Negative 48 plus 5 is a negative 43. Okay? So now I have 43n equals a negative 43. Well, I'm going to divide by 43 to both sides. Don't fret, it's pretty easy now. 43's cancel, leave me with just the n. And negative 43 divided by a positive 43 is a negative 1, right? A number divided by itself is 1, and a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And so n equals negative 1 is our final answer. Negative parentheses, 1 plus 7x minus 6 times negative 7 minus x equals 36. Okay? Well, what I'm going to do actually in this problem here is I'm going to do a lot of distributing. I'm going to distribute that minus sign across. So we have negative 1 here plus a negative 7x. Then we're going to distribute this. So that minus 6 is plus a negative, right? I like to do that if I have a minus, then the minus a number, I have to distribute it. I make it plus a negative. Negative 6 times negative 7 is a positive 42. Negative 6 times, in this case, minus x, right, is a positive 6x equals 36, right? That minus x and the negative here makes it a positive 6x. And by doing that, all adding and all like the negatives, even negatives, and make it plus a negative, I find it easier to combine. Negative 1 plus 42 is a positive 41. Negative 7x plus a 6x is a negative just 1x. Then we have a 36 on the right. So make sure we got everything. We brought a negative 1 and 42 together to get positive 41. And negative 7 plus 6x to get a negative x. Now I'm going to subtract. I'm going to subtract a 41 to both sides. Leave me with just a negative x out here. And 36 minus a 41. What does that come out to be? Well, that's just a negative 5, right? A negative 5 there. And so I have 36 minus 41 is a negative 5. If you have trouble with that, I have other videos where I have a positive, I subtract a negative from it, and it ends up being a negative answer and how to solve that. But right now I'm just going to keep it as negative 5 here. And so we have negative x equals negative 5. Well, multiply or divide both sides by negative 1. Get rid of that negative, get x by itself, and so we have positive x equals negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a positive 5. So I have x equals 5 as my final answer. Negative 3 times 4x plus 3, and parentheses, plus 4 times 6x plus 1 equals 43. Okay? Well, I want to distribute to each parenthesis. It makes it easier. So I'm going to distribute. So negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x, plus negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9, plus 4 times 6x is 24x. All this distributing. 4 times 1 is 4 equals a 43 here. Okay? Well, now I'm just going to combine my like terms. All right? Now, if you need to rearrange it, you can. I'm not going to. Negative 12x plus 24x is just 12x, right? 24x minus 12x is 12x. Negative 9 plus 4, well, that's adding a net, right, or a minus sign, right, is a negative 5. Combining them, I have 43 over here. So 4 and negative 9 is a negative 5. 24 and negative 12 is positive 12. So we have 12x plus a negative 5 or a minus 5. Well, now I need to do the opposite of that subtraction, add. So I'm going to add a 5 to both sides. Leave me with 12x equals 43 plus 5, which is 48. Okay? And how many times does 12 go into 48? Well, let's find out. We divide by 12 to both sides. And then 12's cancel. Leave me with x equals 48 divided by 12, which is just 4. And so my final answer here makes it all at this huge complicated problem down here. It's x equals 4. 24a minus 22 equals negative 4 times 1 minus 6a. Well, first thing, I'm going to distribute that negative 4. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Nice job. And then we have a minus 6a, well, plus is negative, right? So plus negative 4 times a negative 6a is a positive 24a. Fantastic. Bring down here 24a minus 22. Okay? Well, what I'm going to do now is combine my like terms here. So I'm going to subtract a 24a bring it over to the left, and I'm going to add a 22 to the right. On the left, well, 24a minus 24a is just 0. Okay, they canceled out. I have negative 4 plus 22 is a positive 18. Well, 0 does not equal 18, right? They're not equal. When that happens, when you have something that's not equal, a number not equaling another number, we have no solution. So no solution going on here. And that's my final answer. No solution. There was no number that worked that made this equation true. Negative 5 times 1 minus 5x plus 5 times negative 8x minus 2. It's getting a long problem here. Minus 4x minus 8x. Okay, long one. Should have said it a little better. It's all good. Let's distribute, right? I'm going to distribute each part here. So I'm going to distribute the negative 5. And I like to, when I do it here, to distribute what I can first. So negative 5 times 1 is a negative 5 plus, because we have a negative here, right? And then two negatives. Negative times a negative is going to be positive plus 25x when I distribute that negative 5 across. Plus 5 times the negative 8x is a negative 40x. And 5 times a negative 2, or plus a negative, or minus 2, but plus a negative, is plus a negative 10 equals negative 4x minus 8x. Okay? All right, let's go simplify each side now. Okay, let's combine our like terms. So I'm going to do the x's first. 25x plus a negative 40x. That comes out to be a negative 15x. And now negative 5 plus a negative 10 is a negative 15 equals, on the right I can combine those, right? That minus 8 is plus a negative. So we have a negative 12x going on here. All these negatives. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a 15x to both sides. All right, let's bring our x's together. That leaves me with a negative 15 here on the left. And on the right, though, negative 12x plus 15x is just a 3x, a positive 3x. Okay? Positive 3x. So I have negative 15 equals 3x. I'm going to divide by 3 to both sides. And so negative 15 divided by 3 is a negative 5 equals 3x divided by 3 is 3. Oh, no, it's not. It's an x. 3x divided by 3 is x. The 3's cancel. And so I have negative 5 equals x. So I'm going to write it nice and neat. X comes first. X equals negative 5. And that is my final answer.
Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. Minute Math. Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. MinuteMathTutor.com.